huge patch of sweet potato leaves and vines, and it started with just a few and it just spread and spread. So that's one patch, and I didn't grow it at volunteers. So the first year that I grew things, I knew I wanted sweet potatoes because they're nutritious and I love the way they taste. So I got some and I put them in a box and I grew them that way. And then when I pulled up the box and got the sweet potatoes out of the box, I threw kind of the soil all around and reused the soil. And ever since, I guess there were little baby, either the greens, the vines, or there were baby sweet potatoes. So they come up year after year, which I don't mind because they're a food source, and also they help to mulch the ground so underneath is nice and moist and cool. And in fact, we have a visitor there. It's like an adolescent size praying mantis. If it stays there later, I'm going to show my kids. Not sure if it's the same little guy that we released recently, or if it's one that hatched from one of the egg sacs that we had on our pineapple guava. So I had to get in there today. This whole area was full of sweet potato vines. As you can see, there's still some. It just filled this whole entire space, and those little spots right there were where those pots were. I just moved them in order to get in here and cut all the sweet potato vines that were growing all throughout there, which makes space for me to walk. And I don't plan on walking here too much, so I hope it'll regrow. It's fine. And in fact, I hope it makes the sweet potatoes bigger as it sends less energy to the leaves. So I had to get in here because I need to clean up some of the weeds here. It kept the moisture. As you can see, it's pretty moist down here, and it kept it shady and cool for any insects. And I'm just gonna only harvest that small amount of sweet potato, and I'm gonna stir fry it. And so the reason why I had to get in here is so that I can cut all these dead heads off of my chrysanthemum, because they look gorgeous. I mean, they look gorgeous when they're blooming and not all dead like this. Here I've got some beautiful zinnia blooms. So let's see, that's 3, 4, 5 dianthus peeking out over there, 6 and 7 giant blooms, and then 8th one on its way, and then a bunch of other little ones that are coming up. Looks like this batch is all gonna be orange, which is fine. So early on I cut some of the bottom leaves, some of the bottom branches, and that made them not too tall. So right now they're about 2 to 3 feet, 2 to 2.5 feet tall. So they're not very tall. Otherwise they would be up to my waist by now. They'd be like 3 or 3.5 feet tall. So, and then another thing I just learned is that I'm gonna have to cut these flowers in order to encourage it to bloom. So when I cut the branches, it divided, it split. So now it branched out 2 branches. And in fact, this one has 3. So it actually makes it look more full. And I love it. You get more blooms out of it. So I think I have in the same bed with the dianthus and the zinnias, I think I have a cosmo coming up. I've got one sunflower, another giant sunflower. It doesn't look too hot over here, but it's fine. This is my little flower bed, my herb bed, which I don't know if the soil was hot, or it had to take that many days, but I'm finally getting some basil. I think that's the Chinese sweet basil. Sunflower. I threw in a tomato. I think that is cilantro and maybe basil again. And look, little babies. I wonder what they are. And some other plants. So I don't know if these are just too old, the branches for the calendula, or if they're starting to die off because it's getting hotter and they like cooler early spring months. So the stalks are turning brown, the leaves are turning brown. I've been harvesting as many flowers as I can to encourage it to bloom even more, but it may be on its last leg. The yarrow in there, though, looks really good. It looks fantastic. I love the color. It's so pretty. This mum, I think it's a purple variety, but it's getting so tall. It is probably 2.5 feet tall, and I need to cut it down because it's kind of falling over. But it's nice and bushy. And then I've got the society garlic here, and that fennel, pineapple, guava, the pear behind it, which I've harvested about 7 or 8 fruit from it, and they were like much bigger than I thought. I thought they'd be half the size. Look at my prior video, and they were so sweet even when they were slightly greenish. So I'm really happy about that. Down below there, I planted some of my perennials, my new starts. So I hope they have a chance to grow. They get some shade and some sun so they don't fully get burnt. I've got yard long beans here that I'm trying to train up this concrete thingy. And it's kind of at the corner of the chicken coop, and hopefully it'll give them some shade while I get some food. So it's interesting, the straw flower had pink flowers and then they turned yellow. And then my daughter recently decided to make some pretty floral arrangements, so I told her to pluck these off because these are long lasting. And then the petals actually went backwards, and she noticed it. So like these tiny little petals that you see, they turned backwards. So that was pretty interesting. So these marigolds look really gorgeous with my dahlias, which are starting to bloom. I'm getting some tomatoes here in this little tiny plant. Some herbs are coming up in this garden bed, so I'm happy about that. Some rose blooms are starting up right here. They're really pretty. It looks striated here, but the flowers look like a peachy yellow, pink. So gorgeous. There's so much to do. I've been harvesting lots of the nasturtium seeds as well. I just do this every few days. And over here at the edge of my concrete garden bed, I am sowing tomato seeds. I know it's kind of late in the season. I hope something comes up. So here is the mound of sweet potato vines and leaves. So I'm just gonna pluck and harvest these leaves just like that, and then I'll wash them, triple wash them, and then just stir fry it with garlic and onion and salt and pepper, and they'll be delicious. I recently cut all the chili peppers off of my Anaheim chili plant, which is about 3.5 feet tall, and I fertilized it and watered it every other day, and it's starting to make fruit and blooms. It was looking kind of shaggy and kind of dead, so I think it needed some kind of reboot. I don't know if they have an expiration date. Some plants don't make it past a few years. And I overwintered that one. This one's doing great. It's the shishito pepper, and it's doing really good. That's how big it is. It's short though. Oh my goodness, this is so funny. I tried to overwinter this bell pepper plant, and it just keeps turning brown, and it's very sensitive. It didn't make it like the other plants did. But over here, which I think is another pepper, or it's the same plant, down below the roots went up or something like that. So there's a new branch, and this is a bell pepper variety, so I don't know if it's the same plant. So next to Pepper Alley, I have these two lunchbox orange sweet snacking peppers here, and then this one was a cutting off of another chili pepper plant where something went on it and broke the branch, so I just kind of stuck the branch in the ground, hoping I can salvage it and hoping it'll root. Doesn't look like it. And here are my two Shiku eggplants, and I selected this variety because it says full sun 6 hours, spacing 18 to 24 inches apart, container deep. And where did I read it? Oh my goodness. I don't know where I read it, but it said that this variety has very few seeds and is very tender, and the skin is not very hard either. Oh my goodness. Every day I come out, these 3 tomato plants. Oh, looks like there's a 4th one. They keep getting taller and taller. They were probably half the size about 3 days ago. This tomato plant is giving me tons of little baby greenish yellow pear-shaped tomatoes. That's 4 right there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know if you can see it. 10. There's just a lot. And 11, 12. Lots of flowers. They say if you shake it, it'll help fertilize it. I've got tons of lemon on my tree. I need to cut this back and harvest all my lemons and kind of trellis up the branches here. My Mexican lime tree is getting so tall. It is now 6.5, 7 feet tall, making tons of tiny little limes. And I've got several figs on my tree. This one is the white Genoa, so it's going to stay green. I'm trying to grow a melon over here, but for some reason its leaves don't look too hot. I hope it makes it. I'm so surprised. So over in here, it's a really tall, big pot that had just a shallow, maybe 4 inches of soil in here. And I just threw some Malabar spinach seeds, and it's growing, climbing up here, and it's helping to shade out. And I've got some other green amaranth that's growing. Volunteers everywhere. If you ever grow amaranth, it volunteers everywhere. But it's not a bad thing to have. I feed it to the chickens, and I eat it also. And surprisingly, my papayas are doing fantastic in there. I had no idea that they love, I guess they love to be protected, or they love to be in the shady spot. So not so much sun. I have no idea. because you think the tropics are pretty sunny too. I don't know. I don't know how to grow papaya. My goji berry canes are just going crazy. They're getting super out of hand. I've been harvesting the leaves and having them in a tea. I'll try soup someday with it. There are some pretty little purple blossoms on my goji berry plant. Hopefully it will create the goji berries. Not sure if the birds get to them before I do. Here is a bright pink rose bud that's coming up. So I thought this thornless variety of blackberry called baby cakes had died, but it just keeps popping up little shoots here and there everywhere, and I don't mind because this variety is thornless. It really does not hurt you like the other ones do. Well, I better get back to work in the garden because I have a lot to do. I'm so busy all the time between all the homestead animals, the plants, trying to water everything, trying to keep everything alive, but it's all worth it. I love it that my daughter likes making flower arrangements, and I'm trying to get her to come out more often, and I'm trying to grow as much food as possible and a lot of herbs, and it's actually very satisfying. Especially if I see abundance everywhere. I know I should be thinning these out, but I just love how the garden looks right now. It looks gorgeous. Never mind that worm tower over there. If I could hide it somewhere, which I will eventually. So that's the state of the garden now. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. This is how much of the sweet potato leaves we have. So I'm gonna make a salad with one and stir fry the other.